A quorum of 4 commissioners. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you.
For folks who are not commissioners and in the audience, just some thoughts or tips or ground rules. Assuming there are no contingencies or other stuff that you have to address today, and that would reference a Promenade Hill that was taken care of by the attorneys. Some questions on 94, 96 North Fifth, and some questions in terms of information on 221 Allen. As far as I know, there are no other contingencies. Basically, you folks don't have to stay through the meeting. What's going to happen is a city attorney has prepared the actual C of A document. We'll vote on those. I stamp and sign them and send them to Code Enforcement Officer Craig Haig. And your best next step would be to contact Craig on Monday, because in a number of cases, the C of A document will also allow Craig to release your work permits. You might as well get it all done at once. If you want to stay on, certainly do, but if you have no further business with the commission other than getting your C of A and there are no outstanding contingencies, you don't have to. That said, would the commission please review the minutes from the meeting of January 8th? And thanks again to Erin.
Are you looking for approval of the minutes?
I am, Paul. I was just giving folks a minute to look through if they hadn't had a chance yesterday or whatever, but absolutely we are.
Victoria, you had some questions about the minutes or about?
Hold off on that, Chip. I want to do that when we go through the C's of A.
Oh, okay. It wasn't about the minutes. It was about the C of A.
That's correct. We want to clarify some language. We'll use the minutes as the reference point.
Yeah, I just didn't know if it was in the minutes.
Hopefully everything is. The one I'll point out where I need to draw on your memory specifically on a couple things, but we'll get there.
The item wasn't specific in the minutes, and so that's
okay. Very good. No,
Okay, so this is right now. This is just about you guys reading and approving the minutes.
Done.
Cool. Without objection, may I have a motion to approve the minutes and a second, please?
I make a motion.
Terrific. And Paul and Hugh, thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Minutes are approved. Okay. I don't know if everyone got the agenda. We're going to go through it pretty straight up, except where we need to clarify the language in the C's of A. 241 Columbia Street. There were no contingencies. I did make a note on the agenda, if you got a chance to look, that the decision was taken in the meeting and agreed by the owner and by the architect that the stucco would be retained and restored as opposed to covered with wood cladding. Other than that, may I have a motion to approve the C of A for 241 Columbia Street?
Motion.
Thank you very much, Hugh. And may I have a second on that, please?
I second.
Thank you very much, Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. So terrific. That was a lot of work by a lot of people in the community and us and the owner. So pretty cool that got done. Next up is Promenade Hill Park. Again, on the minutes, just to keep me on track, I had noted that city attorney had asked that we wait on two things. Common council is lead, which we voted to approve, and type 2 designation, which was also taken care of. So there are no further contingencies on Promenade Hill Park. Excuse me, somebody's calling. It was Carol. Hey, Shaheem, is our link up on the city website? I know you and I chatted about it yesterday.
I sent it to the clerk's office, but if it's not, I can put it on the Facebook right now for anybody who wants to join in.
If you could do that, I just got a call from Carol Ostrank, who's, if you could shoot her a link, but she's been good enough to cover HBC for a long time. I'd like to be able to get her in the meeting if we can. Thank you.
Here, I'll send you the link right now.
Thanks very much, John.
I'm sending it to her right now. She just called me.
Got it. Okay. What I was saying is there was outstanding process work on Promenade Hill Park prior to our vote today. That has been cleared up and resolved. Is that correct, Victoria?
Correct. This board did not have enough information before it to conduct a seeker review. Common Council went, looked at all the right forms and decided it was a type 2 action. And so we can rely on that. So
Cool.
we have a C of A prepared, which identifies it as a type 2 action and which approves the project.
Terrific. Thank you very much. I think that I would speak for most of us, all of us, to say we're super proud of the city on moving this forward. It's going to be gorgeous. I mean, how cool is that? Anyway, it just is. Motion to approve the C of A on Promenade Hill Park. Anyone?
I'll make
I
that.
would make that motion.
Terrific. So Chip and I thought Paul, I think I heard Paul.
I'll second.
Thank you very much, Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? None. Promenade Hill Park is approved. So congratulations to the city and that team. 9496 North Fifth Street with contingencies. Victoria, did you have questions on this one or not so much?
Yeah, I'm gonna pull this up because the notes from that meeting,
I
there was a lot
understand.
of discussion about a handrail.
Yep.
And I don't think that having wording that it will match the aesthetics of the porch is, I don't think it provides enough information to Craig Haig when he has to go and enforce that.
I understand.
As a matter of fact, Victoria, sorry to jump in, that handrail, it was, I was thinking it was the handrail to the stair coming down. There's that handrail for the step in the walkway. That'll actually go away. So that was a code requirement for the occupancy. Since it's going to a single family residence, they don't need that handrail. So those like 2x4 rails that are there for that step will go away.
And that's my recollection also of
Okay.
our discussion.
So we don't need them to come back for handrail design at all.
Well, it might just be clear for the handrail that's on the sidewalk as opposed to the handrail that's on the stair. Correct?
Okay, hold on. We'll say the handrails on the walkway will be removed. And then do you want them to return for design of the handrail design on the other one, with the sidewalk?
I thought we had agreed to approve if it referenced the existing railing, but I'm not trusting myself on that.
Well, so that's, I mean, when you say reference the existing railing, that's again, not enough for Craig Haig. Does it need to match it exactly or?
Match it. There's no such thing in this world as exact, but it's expected to match it.
Maybe just a clarification, Andy. Are you planning to replace the guardrail on the porch? Or merely take off the bumps off the top?
No, it'll be replaced. Well, it's got to be reconstructed. The porch is no longer there. So
oh, that's correct. It's been,
yeah.
I forgot, it was
Yep.
demolished.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, so we're saying the handrail.
Mr. Chairman,
Handrail, sorry,
Mr.
Craig,
Chairman,
go ahead.
hi, this is Craig. Quick question on these rails, because I had a question on it. I just want to be clarified of what's been proposed is what's being approved with the removal of the guard handrail on the walkway. The stairs and the steps require a handrail to the porch.
Understood. We'll make that clear. That's correct, Craig.
Yeah, that walkway, Victoria, that doesn't require a handrail. So if it's in there, then they have to have it. If it's not in there, then they don't need it.
Okay, so now it says the handrails on the walkway will be removed. The handrail design on the stairs and steps shall match the existing rails.
Stairs
Well,
and
they-
porch, I think.
The existing rails are gone.
Okay, so what are they matching? Is you're approving what was in this plan set and then we don't even have to say anything else?
We don't need the contingency. I believe we are, unless there was an issue with the spindles. Not aware of that. Andy, you recall anything else on that?
No, I think we had talked about trying to keep the spindles fairly simple. So, and that's kind of what we show.
Okay.
So I think as designed, it works.
So then we're just-
My remark about the handrail design as proposed on the by the applicant for the handrail guardrail of the porch is that because of the ornate nature of the brackets, it's highly unlikely that the original handrail for that porch were the simple square spindles that are illustrated.
That's right.
Now, there isn't any, absent of any evidence of that, the applicant didn't provide any evidence of any previous handrail there. They are proposing that simple rectilinear square cross-section wood spindles. Of course, they have to comply with the current code requirement because they're really all brand new. That was the discussion that I remember having. I think we left it that if the applicant were to find some original documentation of what that original design might have been, the commission would certainly entertain a revision or later comment, later application for a design that might be more historically appropriate.
Understand.
But my recollection is that the commission decided to approve the design as identified in the application.
Okay, thank you. That was the confusion because I read your comments, Chip, and then I wasn't clear what was decided on. So
Okay.
the conditions are,
One discussion though about in the design, it looked as if the handrails were at like a 45-degree angle to the porch railing, and we discussed having them be at a 90-degree angle, that they would come straight down instead of splaying open. You remember that?
Mhm.
Yes. And that, I believe, was addressed in the application during our review, that the applicant would make them 90 degrees to the porch rather than splayed.
What we have here is the stairs and bluestone walkway shall be straightened instead of flared. Are we asking for a reference to the handrail as well? I mean, the stairs are going to be straightened. Everything will
Yeah.
be 90 degrees.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
there's no way to put the handrail on in other than straight on a straight stairs.
Sorry,
So far.
okay.
What do we got now?
So all the condition is that the handrails on the walkway shall be removed because you're approving what the applicant presented to you in its application. So that doesn't need to be a condition for the design of the remaining rail.
Okay.
And then I think the other conditions are as stated in the minutes.
Agreed. Thank you very much. May I have a motion to approve the C of A for?
Can I jump in, Phil, really quickly? There's
Go
one.
ahead, Andy. Sorry.
There's one item, if I can do a screen share. We revised the plans. We ran into a bit of a snag on the windows, on the 2/4s. As we were, so here's everybody see that? We did straighten out the porch, as you'll see, on the front 2/4s. So the master bedroom is going to be in this corner of the upstairs. The 2/4 windows, cottage style double hungs, do not meet the egress requirements for the bedroom. So when you open that, you only get a third of the window open. So the opening of that window doesn't meet the egress requirements. So we looked at several different options to try and come up with something that was viable, and there are very few that kind of carry through with the aesthetic of the 2/4. looked at full casement, which I know the commission's typically not in favor of, which really is the only option that kind of carries the aesthetic. There was an option, and I think I can pull them up here. So there was an option where you have a larger upper window, and then a double hung 2/4, but the two above are different size than the two below, so they wouldn't match the remainder of the windows on the house, even the 2/4s. And then so here's what we got from LePage. So that would be the or equal to the Marvin, but that's your typical cottage style 2/4 that we would propose everywhere that does not meet the egress requirement. There's a casement that's a 2/4, and it's got a heavier kind of mullion in the middle to mimic, but the casement obviously is a little bulkier than the other double hung. Then we looked at a transom with a casement that would hinge open, but again, kind of the divider between the windows changes the aesthetic between the other windows. And then a triple hung, which again, it becomes much more bulky than the thin mullions on the cottage style 2/4. That being said, we really kind of only see the two options ultimately. And as we kind of expressed at the last meeting, is the applicant would prefer to go with 2/2s. I know, Chip, you had mentioned the aesthetic of the 2/4s in the front of the house oftentimes was different than the back of the house. We've got the 2/4s going in the remainder of the house around the backside. So, in lieu of going to a kind of a fold in 2/4 casement window for those egress, we'd look for the commission to entertain flipping back to the 2/2s that would meet the egress requirements for that, without having to switch to a different type of window for those 2-bedroom windows.
Andy, thank you very much for that work that you've done to look at these alternates. It's really terrific that you are, and we certainly understand the egress requirement, but thank you for that hard work. I appreciate it. The windows that are on the first floor in this front elevation, are they a different size than the second floor? Are they taller?
That's a good question. We had the photos from the last presentation. Let me see if I can dig those out quickly. They appear here to be the same, and I don't know if that's an existing condition or proposed. I think they may be the same.
I actually kind of doubt that they would be the same. I would expect the first floor windows to be bigger. The ceiling heights on the first floor are typically higher.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I'm asking is that the one example that you provided for alternates for the egress was to have a 2/4 double hung in which the top sash was slightly larger, taller than the bottom sash.
Mm-hmm.
And if that top sash then approximates the taller sash of the first floor, then I think architecturally it starts to make, it would make some architectural sense. So that's why I'm asking about the first floor windows being slightly taller than the second floor windows. And my personal preference would be to see that second floor windows be 2/4, and if the taller sash on the second floor, the upper sash is taller in the freed glass area, I think that could look, fine with the bottom sash being larger.
So here's that front elevation photo.
Yeah.
So they do appear to be the same size, but like we talked about, the kind
of.
Well,
I'll tell you what. Just look in this photograph at the window to the left of the front door, look at that top sash, and then look at the top sash of the second floor window above it.
Mhm.
The second floor window top sash appears to be shorter than the first floor.
It does, right? Unfortunately, we don't have the mullions below to see whether or not this portion matches the lower portion.
True enough, but that bottom sash of the first floor window is clearly taller than the top sash of the first floor.
Yeah, this here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to exclude the windows for now and just approve the remainder so they can get started?
So
I'm
here's-
hoping we can come to an agreement. That Andy had said that the owner would prefer 2/2. Andy also was, as Chip pointed out, good enough to show us some very viable options in terms of 2/4. Andy, you know, you can certainly push back. I mean, we're talking about a view in terms of what would be most likely to be historically correct in terms of the building and the structure and what was there before. But our guide rail is a little bit short of that, which is simply the notion of appropriateness. So there's some wiggle room, and I'm not trying to bail on Chip if his judgment on this stuff is pretty rock. So if there's a way you can work with Chip's view, that's great. If you want to push back, of course you can, and we can vote. So what do you think, Andy?
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately, the preference is to go with the 2/2s. I appreciate Chip's input certainly on the historic element. They are doing a restoration, if you will, of the house, kind of to bring it back to where it was. Given the fact that we've got the 2/2s elsewhere in the house, the aesthetic of that. From a historic perspective, if you don't have the 2/4s, in my mind, the 2/2s meet the owner's aesthetic, kind of what they want, carries throughout the house, and meets the egress requirements. So that's certainly the preference. I mean, obviously the commission has it's your prerogative to weigh in on that, but that's the applicant's pretty strong preference.
Look, I'm not dumb enough to bet against Chip on what would have been the right thing. That would be a really lousy bet. But our standard is appropriateness, and there's a lot of other good things going on with this building. I asked the commission to consider both sides of that argument. What do you all feel? I think we should go ahead and vote.
I'd like to hear what some of the other commission members feel. I still think the character of the 2/4 is important.
Okay, of course, I'm not saying it ain't. Somebody else then weigh in. Miranda?
Thank you. The reason why I like the 2/4, first of all, because I trust Chip's knowledge of the historic architecture, but also it emphasizes the taller and thinner shape of the windows in the front. They are different from the windows on the rest. So I'm wondering two possibilities. If in fact the windows on the first floor are larger than the windows upstairs, which to my eye in the photograph we looked at, they do look like they are. Number one, could we consider having 2/4 on the ground floor and 2/2 in the second floor, which would emphasize the difference in size between those windows? And barring that, I'm sort of tempted in this rare instance to think about the casement for the bedroom windows, and thereby keep the historic design of all the windows, but provide egress.
Cool.
Andy, could we see the 2/4 alternate choices you had?
Sure.
Please.
So here's your standard not meeting the egress, which is your standard kind of 2/2. And
Right.
then here's the casement selection. So that would be all on a single plane, obviously, versus a double hung. Here is we were just kind of exploring any option that would work. Here's your transom style with a casement below, which again, that kind of thick
Right.
casement. And then here's a triple hung,
Could you go back?
which
to
really
the-
doesn't do any justice. Sorry.
Could you go back to the one above this? I think it was.
Casement.
One of the other points I want to make, and I don't mean to interrupt you, Paul, but
No.
I think that one of the principles of historic preservation, and certainly the National Park Service standards for restoration and preservation, is when you have when you have a physical existence of a material, a physical hard material that indicates the original design, that holds weight in terms of the design. And here we have extant physical sash on the second floor that tells us what the original design was. And that accounts for a lot in historic preservation.
I agree.
So what do
I
y'all?
agree with Chip.
I would like to, if there's a way we could move this to a vote and get Andy going and other folks going. What do y'all think of the casement solution? And where are we putting that? Is that the second story, first story? Where's it going?
I think we're lacking some information about the real hard dimensions that exist on site with the first floor windows and the second floor windows.
Okay.
And I think that to come to a creative design, which actually I think that the 2/4 with the taller sash on the upper sash, which I think might be your first example, Andy.
This Marvin style.
That's a double hung window. It's 2/4. The top sash is slightly taller than the bottom. Well, excuse me. The glass sizes are not equally spaced, as is shown in what the existing conditions. But we still get the 2/4, and it's a double hung, and it meets egress. And as I mentioned, I think that the first floor windows are going to be taller than the second floor windows anyway. And so we end up with, we already have a variety of sash heights on this elevation. So, this looks like the best option to me.
I agree.
I
I
agree.
agree.
Can, Andy, we need to make a motion then to go ahead and vote with, well, we can do it either two ways. I'd like to vote on this proposal from Chip. We can also vote on your proposal, which is 2/2, and then try to come back to this. But I want to move you through the process.
Yep. So Chip, your proposal would be to have all of the windows in the front of the house be this differential sash.
I would propose that the second floor windows, if this measurement of 72 inches RO, the rough opening that you have, if that is accurate for the second floor, then that would be the second floor window. I don't know that we have an accurate dimension on the first floor window. I would not make them all the same arbitrarily. I would measure the second floor, have you measure the second floor and measure, excuse me, measure the first floor. We have a recent installation, I think Paul has brought to the commission's attention, where exactly the first floor window was assumed to be the same as the second floor window. Installation has been made in a masonry building, and it's inappropriate. Now, this is another application that we're talking about, but I think we need to have an accurate field dimension taken of the second floor windows and the first floor windows so that we can really understand what the actual conditions would be.
Well, I think at the end of the day, like Phil says, we too would like to move through a vote and get the C of A squared away. So if there's a means by which, right? I mean, ultimately, it sounds as though the commission is saying a double hung window, right? And
Yes.
the second story would be a double hung window as shown in this Marvin specification that meets the egress requirements. So, you know, ultimately whether the downstairs is done proportionally to have a little bit larger glazing on the upper sash, or even light distribution on all 6 panes, right? I mean, is that
Yeah, I
You
think
follow me?
we have we have existing openings that are original to the house. The windows of the second floor have a measured height and width that needs to be replicated in order to maintain the exterior trim of the house. We need that exterior trim for the second floor and for the first floor, unaltered.
So Andy, you're not changing the openings in any of these. You're not changing the fenestration. You're working with the existing openings.
That's correct. Yep. They're all going to be custom to fit. Yep.
I would urge us to try to move ahead then with a solution of the not the casement, but the double hung 2/4 on the second floor and the 2/2 that are properly made to the existing opening on the other floor. If that's reasonable. You guys want to go forward? I think we should.
Yes.
Okay. Can we then vote on a certificate of appropriateness and Chip or someone else, please correct me if I get this incorrect, that the window that we're looking at here, which is a Marvin double hung 2/4, are the windows that are going to be used on the second story. And we've already seen, I think, the 2/2 on the lower floor with a comment that it has to be sized to fit the historic fenestration space.
You just
I don't think we're saying 2/2 on the first floor.
I'm sorry, did I get that wrong?
I think we're saying 2/4 on both first floor and second floor.
On the entire front of the house?
Yes, but that the second story window has to be sized this custom way in order to provide the egress.
Andy, can you stop sharing?
Yep. Sorry.
I want to pull this up so everyone can see the language. Okay, so item 4. Windows on the front facade shall be double hung 2/4. Marvin double hung 2/4 on second story with first floor windows sized to fit existing space. Is that?
Any comments, folks?
That's right.
Okay.
Yes.
May I have a motion to approve the certificate of appropriateness that we're looking at right now as drafted by city attorney?
I make that motion.
Thank you very much, Paul. Who seconded?
Second.
Thank you very much, Hugh. All in favor by voice? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Approved.
Thank you all for your time. Appreciate it. Have
Thank
a
you,
good
Andy,
weekend.
very much.
Thanks.
Thanks, Andy. Next up, we have 221 Allen Street. And I think there was some information that we had asked for on doors, attic windows, and siding removal. Is anyone here representing 221 Allen Street?
Morning, folks. We're the architect who presented 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
We were able to get back to the building and we did a little bit more research, and we found a couple of details that we are hoping to present to you, and hopefully you like them.
Please go ahead and share your screen.
Excuse me, but my video is frozen. Is anybody else's video frozen?
Oh,
No.
Okay. I'm having some technical difficulties then. But proceed.
Jeff, do you want to grab a minute to log out and log back in, see if there's a fix there?
I'm trying, I will, I will try to do that.
Okay. We can wait a minute. I'm sorry, is this Matthew who's presenting?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so tell us about the screen.
Okay, so this screen represents some of the items that we found on site. We did a little bit of investigative probing, and I believe Chip was correct. I think it was Chip who had mentioned it, that there is actually an entablature up at the top of the building that's behind the siding. So we are going to be exposing that and refurbishing. So you can see in the elevation here, I think it's listed as drawing 5, that entablature is in fact intact, and we're going to restore it. In addition to that, we also was able to pull back some more of the vinyl siding, and we were able to find the original casement framing around the double hungs. So as we presented before, these are 2/2 double hungs, and we were able to find the profiles, which you can see in drawing 1 of the existing window study, and the section. There's a modest sill, and there's a double layer of trim that kind of goes around the double hung windows. So we will be restoring back to that configuration. And lastly, we talked about the entry doors, and I know that there was some conversation about what we're preparing, what we're presenting, and the question of the original Victorian style doors being original or appropriate. I still feel that those doors, although I understand that the other owner had left that style in place, I don't believe, and this is my historical opinion, that those are appropriate doors. And I didn't see any evidence that they were actually original doors for the building. So we do want to proceed with our door configuration that we originally presented.
I think, quick comment, it's my understanding, and I think Carol or somebody provided this information. I believe the owner at one point was Phil Gellert. I think that the original doors were taken off and destroyed. It's my further understanding that they were replicated, which is what's there now, and it was not necessarily a good replication. So that what we've got is a replica of the original doors, not a terribly good one, but if that's helpful or not, I don't know. That's the story on the doors. Folks?
I think that we have photographic evidence of the original door design that Carol provided in a photograph prior to their removal. These 6-panel doors that are proposed are colonial revival. They're not appropriate for Greek revival. I think the applicant has done a terrific job of tending to the Greek revival aspects of this building, and the work that's being proposed is spectacular, wonderful, appropriate, and right on. I just think that the door sash is that last 5% to really do the legitimate sort of Greek revival restoration. It just seems inappropriate to do a colonial revival door.
Okay. Matthew?
Okay, yeah, if we want to go, swapping out to a Greek revival, panel configuration for the doors, I've got no objection doing that. I just do not want to put those Victorian doors on this building.
Okay. If there's no objection, is the commission good on where we are?
Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
Are you guys, I would like to go forward if you guys are comfortable. A motion to
Wait,
approve.
no, wait, we can't approve as drafted. I'm sorry, this is another one. Can I
Okay.
share my screen,
Please
Matthew?
put your draft up then, Victoria. Thank you.
Matthew, can you stop
Sure.
sharing?
Apologize for that.
No, that's right. Let's see, this is 221 Allen. Okay, so as it was drafted, it said existing front doors and wood trim shall be restored. And did I understand what the requirement is now is that the proposed front door shall have a Greek revival style?
That's correct. Yes.
Is that enough guidance for Craig to understand?
No,
whether
I think we need to have a drawing illustrating what that Greek revival style is.
So,
I agree. Yes.
okay. So the applicant shall return to the of a replacement front doors.
Victoria?
Yes.
Question, and I don't know whether this is by the book or not, which is why I'm asking. Would it be plausible for, well, we can wait 2 weeks and review it and see what comes in. If there's some other urgency that we're not aware of, would it be plausible for the applicant to provide a proposed Greek revival door and share that online with the commission, or share it with me, and I can share it, however, or do we have to wait another meeting?
You mean like give them some time by the end of this meeting and come back to it?
If not by the end of the meeting, then within the next couple days, or is that off base?
It would have to be during a meeting, or you could certainly call a special meeting to consider it. But it would have to be during a meeting.
I guess. Then we'd have to wait to approve this until we've seen drawings.
Well, we can approve everything except the door. I mean, it's just that the only concern I have is that by keeping an open-ended condition, you might end up with something that you didn't want, because Craig's going to get it and say, well, you know, this.
Well, it happens. I've seen situations where we didn't give him enough to work with, and that story doesn't end well. I get it. Let's go ahead then and approve this C of A excluding the door.
Okay.
Right, I make that motion.
Thank you very much. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. You all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Passed. Okay. Matthew, I don't want to hang you up. If as soon as you have an idea of what you want in terms of door, just get that to Craig and myself.
Sure, absolutely. We'll jump right on it. I can't imagine it's taking too long to do this. So
And I'll let you know what the process is going forward. If you're really in a jam, I reckon we can consider a special meeting, but no one's dying to do that.
I'd like to start proceeding with Department of Buildings plan approval with this open condition. I guess the question is to Craig. Craig, do you have any objections with us submitting our drawing set and project to you for Department of Buildings approval with this open condition?
I can issue the permit based on the proposal with an exclusion of the doors not being completed, providing whatever the final results are to doors that they obviously meet the building code. The only question I would have is the doors, since they're not approved in this certificate of appropriateness, is that going to, and this is probably more so for the chairman and Victoria, is that going to generate a new application for the doors?
Probably. but it should be straight up. I was hoping that we'd simplify it, but that probably has to be the case.
Okay, so
Yeah,
that's where
I,
you have to understand, that's where you have to understand that you're gonna have a new application for your doors, which means there's, you know, it's a new fee and everything. It's for your historic application.
Is
That's
there
just
another
something.
way of doing this where we could make the contingency that they provide a drawing of the Greek Revival door? That we
At the next
approve
meeting.
this application with the understanding that they will use a Greek Revival door and that there's a contingency that they provide a drawing of that door?
That's what it was originally, and my only concern was that Greek revival could mean different things to different people, and that if they provided something and Craig Googled it and it met those minimum requirements, then Craig would have to approve it, even if it wasn't something that you or Chip thought was appropriate, like it was vinyl or it was, you know.
But can I just see, as a matter of practice, right? Like they could then go do the work. It could be approved. We will see the Greek. We'll see the drawing and the specifications. They'll probably be in and we will have to, I guess, publicly approve them. But they'll at least know that they can proceed with everything else and the door. Does that
Well,
make sense?
right now they can proceed with everything except for the door.
well, the reason why I asked the question is because this project does have, because of the fire damage and because of structural components and interior fit out that we're doing in this building, it's going to be in the buildings department for a little bit longer than a typical, fenestration or facade repair. So I just would like to get that process started. I am assuming that, within 2 weeks' time, the drawings will be nowhere ready for a completed review. But at least I can get Craig started on the nuts and bolts of the job, and then we can submit this this Greek Revival door, for the next meeting. But it doesn't slow us down in terms of our schedule.
Matthew, you can't. My understanding from what Craig said is he was not concerned about the design of the door. He was concerned that it was fire safe and met code requirements. So anything you do has to meet code requirements. There's nothing here to get in the way of moving forward that I'm aware of.
I just was, maybe I misunderstood, but it sounded like if we were to proceed with the filing with the Department of Buildings, then the caveat would have been that we'd have to reapply for the front door. Is that right?
That's my understanding. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
let me just chime in real quick, Matt or Michael. You can submit your plans for interior renovations. We can move forward with that.
Okay.
Anything that's already been approved based on the conversation isn't the end of the world. If they were to, my opinion and suggestion would be, is hold the certificate of appropriateness, get the door straightened out, and then come back to the table with it. Otherwise, it sounds to me like it's going to generate a new application. And no, you cannot just go and do the work, as I think somebody said, and then hopefully it gets approved, because that's actually in violation of the City Code 169. You can't do that. So my suggestion would be is either move forward with what you have now and reapply, or just put a contingency in place and come back to this without a full approval. But
So
that's really Victoria is going to give your best guidance with that.
Okay, so I think what you're saying is what I can do is I can submit what I have in terms of the interior repairs, structural, those items, and then I can establish with a note on that drawing that door compliance shall be submitted to the buildings department under separate cover for approval of HPC. And if I do it that way, then it won't trigger an additional application?
No.
Yeah.
The two options he laid out, sorry, Craig. The two options he laid out are have the board rescind the C of A that they just issued, and then you can provide new information for the next meeting and the board can revote, and then you wouldn't have, hopefully you wouldn't have another contingency for missing information, or accept the vote as it is, move forward with your plans, et cetera, with the understanding that you're going to have to come back with a new application, which is going to be a 2-meeting process. for the door at some point.
So Matthew, for a one meeting process, we should not approve, if you want to do it, get it done in 2 weeks.
Mhm.
We should not approve the C of A at this point. We should wait for you to come back and have the doors an additional contingency and look at it in 2 weeks.
Okay, I understand. I'll speak to ownership and do you guys need a decision from me right now for this meeting? I think.
Well, I lost track. Arian, did the board vote on it already?
I don't believe we did.
No.
Okay,
Okay.
sorry.
Can I add in one thing for the presenter? Matt, very clear, if you don't get approved today for your C of A, that's fine. You can still submit interior renovations design, and I can approve your permit for interior renovation only.
Okay,
I put that right on the permit, and at the bottom it'll have that in the remarks. Must obtain a certificate of appropriateness for exterior work. That way you can keep moving forward, and at the same time come back in 2 weeks and hopefully get approval.
okay, great. Thank you. That's very clear. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. That sounds like the way forward. So Matthew, if that's good, we're going to see you in 2 weeks.
Sounds great. Excellent.
Thank you very much for working with us on this.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to approve, I have 240 Union Street. Motion to approve C of A is prepared by the city attorney. Anyone?
What project was that?
240 Union Street. There were no issues, there are no contingencies.
So moved.
Thank you very much. John, you, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. 522 Warren Street. There were no conditions that I'm aware of. Some comments if you go through the minutes. Garage and balcony on Prison Alley. I think this was actually a fairly interesting piece of relatively modern work on the alley. So motion to approve 522
So moved,
Warren Street.
moved.
Anyone?
Miranda?
Thank you, Miranda, very much. A second, John Schovel. Thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion carried. C of A done. 211 Warren Street. This was solar panels on the back of 211 and Victoria. We solved this hurdle. That was Craig Toomans is both owner and architect on that. Motion to approve solar panels at 211 Warren Street on the back of the building.
Motion.
Hugh, thank you very much. John, so second. Appreciate that. And Paul, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Thank you very much. 205, 207 Warren Street, and a notation on that. I'm sorry, did I lose you guys?
No.
No.
I lost you visually, but hold on one second. There you go. The screen just moved on me. The issue there, we'd approved the work. We had a question about the demo of the garage in the back. That was my understanding, even though it was not a contributing structure, it was relatively new construction. Anyway, we told the applicant that we would go forward with the rest of the work on 205, 207, excluding the demo. And I think Victoria made that quite clear. May I have a motion to approve 205, 207 as prepared by the city attorney?
I make that motion.
Thank you very much, Paul. And John is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carried. I believe, unless somebody else has applications, that we've gone through all the C of A votes. Thanks very much for everybody's really terrific focus today. I had brought in a couple items of board business. They're not all new, but They're all important in different ways. I think everybody knows that we're seeking to fill a vacant position left by Philip Schwartz's resignation. Two of the commissioners have made recommendations to me. I spoke to one of the candidates a fair bit, and one we actually just started our conversation this morning, but got interrupted, and they're great. I mean, they're good, but that's not my point. I'm not comfortable with this just being a fill call. I understand the chairman may have that prerogative in terms of recommending to the mayor, but I both trust and count on all of yous, and would like your opinion, your guidance too. I'm just trying to figure out the best way to set it up. I don't want to put these folks through hell and beyond, but maybe if a couple, two of you would consider forming a committee of the committee to do some vetting or have conversation, or maybe there's a way of doing it just structurally with a Zoom or something, so it's not conversation after whatever it takes. What do you all think of? Would you guys be willing to participate in the vetting process, I guess, and who would like to participate? As I said, John and you each have spoken for some individuals. They're great. I have no doubt of that. But I want some of the rest of you guys to participate.
I'd be happy to be a part of a committee or to vet or.
I
Sure.
would too.
You would too, Miranda. I know that'd be great. And Chip, certainly, if you, however,
I'd be happy to participate, but I certainly don't need to. But I'm happy to.
it's up to you all. I count on you so much on this. I understand the precedent, maybe the chair, but I'm not buying into that. At the end of the day, I really believe the mayor will trust us with our recommendation, which means that, you know, the onus is on us.
So the recommendation comes from the commission. If everyone wants to participate, this is something that could be done you could do an interview in an executive session because it's a personnel issue.
Yep.
You could do an interview publicly as well, if you so choose.
I think that's a little harsh.
I think a private interview, and I think we should invite everyone, and we should interview each of them for 30 minutes, not make it onerous, or 45. Set it up at some general time, and everybody can come in. We shouldn't make them go through multiple interviews
I
be
agree.
appointed to something.
I agree. It's not fair. So somebody want to set up? Who's a Zoom owner in this crowd? I am, but anyone else? Screw it. I'll set up a Zoom and an invite. I'll talk to the guys and make that happen, and we'll do a group interview. Whoever wants to come to it.
Just remember, you have to go into a meeting and then vote to go into an executive session.
Understood. But I appreciate that. Thank you. I hope this didn't sound too weird, but I wanted
Victoria. Would Victoria participate in this as counsel for the interview?
I mean, if you need me to and I'm available, but
Not mandatory. Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Chip. I'll tee this up. Thank you all for that. Parking, maybe we should do another date. I mean, what came up is it's been brought up by the commission before. There are a few things that are so unhistoric as the back end of automobiles stacked up in your face when you're walking down the street. And one of the things that could be happening going forward on the alleys is with the demand for parking. It's a thing that we may be confronted with. I'm thinking that maybe we should look, or maybe I'll look and pull some stuff out of SHPO and other sources on how other communities face it. It's a real thing. It is coming on every direction. As more of these units are converted to dwellings or multiple units or reoccupied, parking's an issue, and the back end of cars, well, we'll come back with that. Certified local government. I sent you all a link
Mhm.
This is a designation as well as a subset of programs and counseling services, if you will, available through SHPO. We had started and kind of stopped the application process a couple times. It is a really good thing. I can't think of a negative associated with this. It does not mean that Albany or anyone else is taking over. It does mean that grant money is available. Consulting services are available. It's just all good. So we haven't gotten it done. We have to reboot and get it done. It's pretty straight up. What I need from you all is 1 or 2 paragraph bios. You've done it before. Do it again. They should reference that you're a Hudson resident. You live within the historic district if you do. And the things that you have done to engage in preservation, restoration, or related things, at least indicating a strong interest and involvement in the topic. And that's my story. So I'll bug you again on the bios. The other part of it, just so you all understand the process, it's actually pretty straight up, is they want us, in addition to that, to send the full text or link to the full text of 169 city code. I'm pretty certain that they're going to come back with some minor modifications at their request. Those modifications, like any changes to the city code, need to go through common council. So there's some steps to this, but nothing we can't manage. If you guys come back at me with 1 or 2 paragraph bios, obviously highlighting preservation, we can do this, and it's a good thing. That's all I got.
Thank you, Phil. On the subject of the 169 city code that you sent out,
Yes.
did you want to discuss something specifically about that, or was that just for our reference?
I wanted you guys to use that as a North Star as you think about candidates for the board position, that particular section, because it's actually an interesting section. It is very specific about certain roles. For example, the architect role is very specific and a requirement. The historian role, with Paul's job right now, very specific and a requirement. We have to have a minimum of 1 and ideally more members who live in the historic district. So just use that as a North Star as you look at people's backgrounds.
Thank you. I read the entire section and found it fascinating, the authority that's in the code to that empowers the commission, the Historic Preservation Commission, is actually, it's a very, very strong code. The implication that we have authority over the alleys and there's no restriction against landscaping. I didn't think I saw anything against landscaping, but I did find it very interesting that any work that the city decides to do that is adjacent to the historic district is to be reviewed by the Historic Preservation Commission. In a way that has the effect of expanding the boundary of the district when it applies to something that the city does. I didn't realize that was the case. It's kind of interesting.
We have never taken full advantage. I've been on doing this a while and watching it a while, and I know Carol Zahn was there pioneering putting this together in the beginning, and we've never taken full advantage of some of the elements of what's available to us in the code. You're absolutely right, Chip.
And in reference to your comment before about parking and and the alleys and so forth. I think all of that is pretty clearly outlined as within our purview.
Will, I mean, Victoria can guide us as she always has on what we can quote, vote or in sort of legislate, but there is absolutely no question that we have underutilized our role in weighing in on important topics such as parking and taking a point of view with the Common Council and so on. Or, for example, on 7th Street, which is going to come up in front of planning and zoning and other folks, the two large buildings
Yeah.
that are being proposed as housing. Those are all adjacent to the historic district. It could be very interesting to see the degree to which we can comment on that.
Right. The current work that's being done, you know, we reviewed the work for the promenade, and that's landscaping, and that's sidewalks, and that's exterior handrails, and that's planting and all the rest of it. However, we have not reviewed the work that's being proposed by the other design group, which is doing ADA compliance in the sidewalks and in the curbs and their planting and their benches and their street landscape work, which I say it's a terrific. 90% of what they're suggesting is terrific, however, I think that we as a board need to say to the Common Council that we need to review this, and I think that we should. I know that there's been discussion within the Common Council that they want to have a public review, but I think the public review was something that was going to be done by the Common Council. In fact, it's a public review that may well belong there, but in addition to that, our commission has jurisdiction over that work. I think we ought to. I think we ought to move to exercise that right and then put it out to the public.
Understood. Says Chip, as I mature, to use a cutting term for what's actually happening to me, I forget stuff. If you would shoot me a note to follow up on
Sure.
on what we were just discussing, I actually can remember to open my mail and follow up.
I'll
And
do that.
I will do. No, I mean, I'm glad I sent you guys that link. I didn't really know whether all of you had gone through 169 or not. You will find there are also some contradictions in 169.
Yeah.
Where in one section it says we can look at landscaping, this, that, and the other thing. In another section, it specifically references permanent structures.
Yeah.
So
there you go. Yeah.
Hi, Phil. This is Craig. I got a question regarding this, and it's more so across the board when it comes to the code. And I just heard Chip say something about that you have right to review of adjacent properties. Keep in mind that's adjacent properties within the historic districts. You gotta remember, code is all about interpretation. So a lot of this, I've read it, and I know this code, and if I don't know what I need to know, I review it when I do these proposals. And also, to my understanding, there's nothing in there regarding landscaping. Now, I'm going to review it again, but I would suggest when these things come up, you find that section of the code, because everything has a paragraph number. You probably should use that as a reference. So myself, and of course, I would refer this to Victoria, that, okay, there's an interpretation issue, the way this is written and the way it's being questioned. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, the legal interpretation will become from the code enforcement and the city attorney.
Right.
So you got to be careful with that.
Speaking to the issue of adjacency, if it's within the historic district, yes. The only time you have authority to review anything outside of the historic district is under that section about a city project. I think it's 16911. Any city agency having responsibility for a project which is to be owned by the city or constructed on city property, and is adjacent to a historic site or district shall refer the plans to the commission. So in such a case, you would have jurisdiction. I think we've discussed this before. You're always welcome to send comments to the planning board on something, just as any member of the public could, if the project is near a historic district, but that doesn't mean it will necessarily be referred to you.
Okay. Good. To be continued. I think that the lines of what we can do and what we can't do we're going to be looking at those pretty hard over the coming year, and I think there'll be a lot of issues to wrestle with, which is good. Which is good, not a bad thing. If there are no further discussion points, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
I make
You?
that motion.
And Paul, thank you very much. In favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. We're adjourned. Thank you all so much for.
Thank you.
Chip,
again-
Chip,
oh,
are
wait,
you still there?
Thank you.
Chip?
one more. Oop, I forgot one thing. Aaron, I'm going to embarrass you,
Thanks.
but it's got to be done. Aaron let me know a while back that she'd been called to another opportunity,
No.
and this is her last meeting, and I had a chance to thank her privately, but I wanted you all to know. And that's my story. Aaron, geez, we're gonna miss
We'll
you.
miss you.
Yeah, very much
It's been
so.
amazing. You've done an amazing job. It's
Yeah.
really incredible what you've done.
Congratulations.
Thank
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was nice working with everybody.
Will you still be in town?
Yeah, I got the opportunity to do code enforcement for Copake and Austerlitz, and I've been doing it at the Village of Chatham, so I'm staying there. So
Very good.
Congrats.
Well,
That sounds great.
congratulations.
thank you.
Good luck.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Aaron. Cheers.
Thanks, Aaron.
Bye, you all.
Bye.
Chip, can you still hear me, Chip?
I can, Craig.
Can you give me a call in the office sometime this morning when you get a chance?
Of course, we'll
On
do.
another note, on a different note. Thanks.
Okay, very
bye,
good.
everybody.
Thank you.